Okay, I'm recording. Welcome, Trauma Rock Stars. I'm so excited for this episode and for you to meet Alexis. She has an incredible story. I'm just going to kind of shoot off some of the things that you've been through in your life. She was raised in a cult that she got out of. She's a single mom and ended up going through a divorce. She was in an abusive, toxic relationship as well as very manipulative, and she'll get into more details with that, with the cult that she was in. Um, she has come across, sorry, hold on. I can't read my own handwriting. Okay. And in the midst of all that, she had to get to know and learn who she was in her 30s. So, welcome to Trauma Rock Stars, Alexis. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm glad to be here.
Oh my gosh, I know when we first talked a couple of months ago, I was like, I cannot wait for you to tell your story. Why don't you? Because I know we talked about quite a bit of things, and we're going to talk about when the bell breaks, of course. That's a little special that we'll be talking about a little bit later. But start, when you were growing up and how you were raised, and the church and everything with your life.
Well, I grew up in a lot of ways like many other kids. I grew up in Los Angeles and grew up watching the Dodgers and grew up going to Disneyland once a year with my family.
Mhm.
And I went to the beach with my friends and I played, baseball in the streets with my neighbors. I did all kinds of things that were normal.
Mhm.
And no one knew what my house looked like. No one knew how my parents were treating me. No one knew that I had nightmares every night from what I was experiencing. No one knew that I was autistic. No one knew that I had a hard time um, in social situations. I was very isolated, even though I grew up in a suburb neighborhood. So we'll start there. My family, I want to say, I don't want to say the name of the cult because there isn't really a name. It's just kind of the way that it was uh, constructed and the way that it was used and the way that it operated. And it's a very narcissistic setup. And I didn't have much to say about who I was. I was expected to kind of perform. I started singing when I was really young. My parents noticed that I really enjoyed that. And
Mhm.
so they put me on a stage. And the first time I was on stage singing in front of people, I was 2 years old and apparently still in diapers. you know,
Yeah, it
um,
too.
yeah,
Right.
right. How many responsible 2 year olds do you know who sing in their diapers? I mean,
Yeah.
many, but I was one of them, and it was at times it got very awkward. As I got older, when I was younger, I liked singing, and I liked also it's fun. I'm making everybody happy, and that's what I thought. And as I got older, I started noticing, people were kind of weird with me. People who I didn't know would come up to me and start talking to me like they knew me. And I felt that was a little bit weird. So I was getting a lot of attention that I didn't necessarily want.
And what age were you starting to realize that?
Probably between the ages of 6 and 9, I
Okay.
think I started to
Yeah.
not push back, but I definitely started to notice other people's motives. I definitely noticed, I don't know, you have a hard time verbalizing the things you notice when you're a kid, but I just started to get really weird vibes from people
I
and
was gonna say, did things just feel off?
things fell off. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I was a teenager where it was kind of like blatantly in my face that I was on stage because, so people could look at me. And they used my talents to bring people into the church and to bring money
Mm.
into the church. And my talents were used to sell tickets for extravagant things that the cult purchased. Our own leader was in trouble for embezzling, and he got in trouble and resigned from the whole thing. That happened when I was a young adult, and I that's when I really started to see
To question.
everything, because you're in a
Yeah.
field and you're like, oh, well, this is what's going on. This is why
Hmm.
we do this, because they're financially motivated and they want control. But as a kid, you don't see these things.
Yeah,
And
and again, kids are innocent.
yeah,
They don't have like that mean to question, what people are doing. When you started getting into your adolescence, and obviously you said 6 to 9, you started noticing things were off and something just didn't feel right. When you started getting into your adolescence, did you rebel at all, or were
I
you just
did. I did in a lot of ways. In some ways, I didn't rebel so much with the singing. I think there was one time when I was 6 years old where all of a sudden I just didn't want to sing. I just had this feels like all of a sudden I didn't want to do it, and they called my name and I didn't want to do it.
felt
I remember
icky?
yeah, and I remember instead of just saying I didn't want to, I remember I just was embarrassed and I cried
Hmm.
because I felt ashamed because I felt like I was expected to do this. Already at 6 years old, I felt a very high pressure to use my talents to serve
Hmm.
everyone, and
Hmm.
the cult and the God and everything. And so even at 6 years old, even though they weren't necessarily forcing me to do these things, I felt a lot of pressure to do it. And so as I got older, I started noticing I was getting a lot of attention and I didn't understand why. I didn't
Hmm.
understand why I was being taken to certain people's houses and, overnight. I didn't understand why I was being treated nice in public and treated very badly at home.
Why were you taken to people's houses overnight?
Um, so that their young sons could be curious. And that's another thing that they don't talk about in the cult is that sexual abuse runs rampant, but people don't talk about it because it's not necessarily like my situation wasn't, oh, the pastor abused me. In these cases, it was, oh, let them go to their house and knowing that these teenage boys are going to do it because they had a history of doing it to their sisters. But they didn't want that getting out. So they had to find someone else for the sons to, play with.
And this is when
Yeah.
you were a
I was
teenager.
a teenager, yeah.
And
And I
so your
to,
parents would
well,
just let
my dad
you.
didn't know what was going on. My mother was basically the one who orchestrated all of this stuff.
Okay.
It's getting deeper into the toxicity. Every time I tell a story, there's a whole other level to it.
Yeah. Do
But
you, so she would just, so I guess your mom, she would just let you go there and let them have free access to
yeah,
you?
well, it wasn't like I didn't know that that was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I told my mother that I didn't like going over there and I didn't like my friend's brothers because I was friends with the daughter. And so
Hmm.
it was like, oh, they let me go on a sleepover. But then it was like once I started telling my mother I didn't like going over there, she's like, why not? What's wrong? What? Like it was a big deal. She didn't just accept that I didn't want to be there anymore.
Did you tell her
This that
why?
I would go there. And I
Hmm.
kept wondering, why is she insisting that I go there?
Hmm.
I don't want to go there. Like I felt
Hmm.
like their family was worse than mine and I didn't want to go there. And there was a lot of pushback. And I felt like that was one situation out of many situations where my mother put me in situations where I was harmed. And I didn't realize that I didn't want to say I was trafficked because I don't have a lot of evidence of that, but I know my mother put me in vulnerable situations on purpose. And I know that my mother had sexual trauma that she refused to address. And it was almost like, this is your lot. This is who you are. This is what you're expected to do. We just don't talk about it.
Did you ever tell her that they were
My mother
abusing you?
specifically told me not to tell her anything ever. if
Who
anything
did?
ever happened to me. My mother told me not to tell her if anything ever happened to me. She said, if anything, she's like, I never told my mother because it would hurt my mother to know if somebody had hurt me. I was like, that makes no sense to me. Mothers are supposed to protect their children. That makes no sense. So I wasn't allowed to tell my mother if anything bad happened to me. I would just have to try to work hard to convince her to not let me go there anymore. So
And
I
did
had
that
to advocate for
stop?
myself in other ways. And that was very complicated and very difficult to do when you're a teenager, because arguing with my mother was not allowed.
Right.
It wasn't called a discussion, it was called arguing. And if I argued, I would get physically abused for that. I was
And your
called
dad just turned the other cheek?
my dad worked very long hours.
Okay.
And when he would come home, he had to put up his feet and not talk to anybody
Yeah.
for a while.
Just
Because I get it,
decompress.
because I work full time. I got to put up my feet too. And I don't want to talk to anybody right when I get home. You have to kind of like, people who are autistic, we have a hard time transitioning from one place to another sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
we need that space where we can kind of de-stress and kind of like, okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
well, now I'm ready to go. Uh, but my mother took it a step further, and she would be like, don't talk to him, don't bother him. And I got yelled at by my dad a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was a lot of fear of connection with my father. And I tried to have a relationship with my dad, but my mother didn't want me telling him things because she was doing a lot of things behind his back that negatively affected me. And I feel like if he would have known that, it would have ended their marriage. But my dad cared about their marriage so much, he didn't want anything ruining it. So he thought it would be best if he didn't know anything. And I can only say that that's true because when I was about 16 years old, there was a man in the church who was following me all over the place. Now, we had a big campus. It was a big cult campus. It was a multi-campus even. And so you're walking around, and if you've been there for the first time, you don't know where anything is. You don't know where you're going. It's a big place. He followed me everywhere and would not leave me alone. He would follow me so close, he would step on the back of my shoes. He would follow.
Oh,
And he would never, I would just be like, can you give me some space? Why are you following me? Like, dude, we're not hanging out. Like, I'm with my girlfriends. Like, we're going to go sit here. Why are, like, I didn't have the assertiveness then. Okay. I was taught to be abused. That is how I grew up. I was taught to be abused and not say anything. So this kid was bothering me. Pastors didn't do anything, of course, because their parents tithe. They pay to be there. They're going to let their kids do whatever they want, especially if they're a man. And so he would interrupt my private conversations when I would be talking to people. He'd come right up to me and ask for prayer. I wasn't a pastor. I don't know why he was asking me for prayer. He was messed up and sexually driven. That's really what was going on. And nobody would advocate for me. Nobody would stick up for me. Nobody would talk to this kid. I say kid because he was a young man, but he was a man. And I was still a teenager, and I was like, I don't want any boys around me. Like, go away. Like, and he
yeah.
would ask my friends for my number, and my friends were like, she does not want you having her number. And he would ask my mother for my number. It was like, my mother would like, why don't you give him your, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not,
Yeah.
but it got to a point where I was just really upset. I was like, I cannot enjoy my experience at all at church, or I can't have a conversation. He's always like literally breathing down my neck. He won't go away. He won't leave me alone. And I was trying to tell my dad about this, because I was like, a little girl should be able to go to her dad and say, Daddy, this boy's bothering me. Can you keep me safe? Can you
Yeah.
stay safe? No.
You know,
He literally turned around and left the room.
my blood is boiling listening to you say, I mean, you told me this before, but listening to it because there's so many people who are abused and assaulted that are afraid to tell anybody because of this.
Yes,
This
because
is
for
why.
so long nobody cared. People did the opposite. People
And
pushed
you're
her.
telling
Yeah.
people, and they're basically just shrugging it off like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything. It's not a big deal. It's like he's already bothering me. He's invading my privacy. He's invading my space. He's not listening to me.
And this is why people don't speak up a lot of
Right.
times.
Right.
So at what point were you brave enough to say, did you meet your ex-husband in this environment?
Well, he lived in a different area, but we did meet at a college that was funded by the cult, by my
Okay.
cult specifically. And he basically almost went into the military. He's like, I'm either going to go to the military. He was like at the military place going like any, mini, miny, mo with the Army, Navy. And
Yeah.
he ended up going to cult school instead. And that's where we
Oh,
met. So that's where we met. I didn't go to cult school because my parents couldn't afford it, and the pastors were really mad that I had been there all those years, and my parents weren't going to send me to the cult college. And
did you want to go to that school though?
part of me did, but then another part of me was like, I'm starting to see what's happening to all my friends who are going there.
Okay.
And my at the time boyfriend was going there, and he was a musician. We were both musicians, and that's kind of how we actually met, actually, because we were both musicians. And they cut a bunch of his music classes mid-semester. So then he's like, well, this is why I came here, because I want to do like music ministries in the cult. Like, hello, like cut classes in the middle of the semester. And like they had weird boundaries and rules. Like you weren't allowed to go to the movies. You weren't allowed to go to the movies. If they caught you at the movies, you would get in trouble. Things
Because
like
they
that.
want to control, it's control.
Control, yeah. So I mean, I didn't necessarily want to be in that kind of control because I was already being conditioned and controlled in other ways. And also
And
my mother
you grew up.
yeah, she didn't also see the point in educating her female children at all.
So they were fine with you not going there.
Yeah, they were fine with me not going there. The pastors were
Okay.
mad because they didn't get our money, but my parents didn't want to invest in any school for me at all.
Right.
None. They didn't even want to help me find any kind of financial aid or anything. They were totally uninvolved. I was homeschooled. So I didn't have any direction as far as college. I didn't have any teachers helping me. It was basically, I waited for my mother to hand me my diploma, and she just decided she didn't want to do that because she knew as soon as I got my diploma, I would apply for college. And so she kept me from that. My own
So
mother,
what did you do at 18 when you're supposed to be graduating? You're supposed to
right?
be deciding if, and college isn't for everybody.
Right. It's not.
And that's not a prop. That's not the issue
Right.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was homeschooled. I wanted that experience. I wanted to go out and
Yeah.
be in the mainstream and talk to people and learn from other people, not just books
Yeah.
and not just from my religion. I wanted to learn about everything. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to see the world,
Mhm.
and I wanted to meet all kinds of people, and I wanted to eat all their food, and
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a social person. But I felt trapped in who I was, in my identity, all wrapped up in the cult and wrapped up in my identity, who I was in my abusive family.
Hmm.
I'm definitely a scapegoat, for sure. So when I wasn't even 18 yet. I basically told my parents I would like to go to my sister's house for the summer. And then I just stayed there. My birthday was in September, and I was like, yeah, I'm not coming home. So I went and got my GED.
And where did she live?
My mother or my sister, you mean?
Your sister.
My sister lived in Washington State, which was 2 states away. I was in California. I grew up in
Did she
California.
know what was going on and what you had been
Well,
going through all these years?
there's another layer to that
Oh,
too.
okay.
My
Okay.
sister is 14 years older than me, so she had her own whole life experience before I
Okay.
was even old enough to remember her. So I'm sure she knew of some of the things that were going on because she went
Yeah.
through that. But my sister was actually worse than my parents, and I was about to find out by
Oh
going to
boy.
live with her. So I thought I was doing a better thing for myself and getting myself independent.
Yeah.
When I got to my sister's, it was not that way.
So you had to get a GED. You literally, she never gave you your diploma.
Nope, nope. did all
Okay.
the work, did everything, had, being abused by her every day and having to talk to her brother who murdered his wife every day because he would call collect. I had to listen to my mother go on religious rants about the certain people she hated in the cult that she was jealous of because they had
Mm,
more than one car. Things like that really made my mother upset,
hmm.
really upset my mother. And she would go off on really long tangents about how she would discourage me from being around the people I wanted to be around. And she would
Hmm.
encourage me to be around all of these other people. Uh, I never understood that. I never understood that. I just still don't get it. It
Yeah.
still baffles me. I'm like, that is just so weird.
So you go to your sisters
Mhm.
not knowing that you're what you're walking into.
Yeah. Long story short, my sister is diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, among other things. She is very charismatic. She's very bubbly. She's a very fun person to be around. She likes to have fun and laugh and joke. She doesn't like to work. She doesn't like responsibility. She loves to lie and make up stories about herself. And she loves to lie and make up stories about me. And she
Mm,
loves to tell me that I didn't remember things and, that happened. And so when I got there, basically, remember when I was telling you my mother was totally okay with me going to toxic people's houses and letting them use me? Well, she let me go to my sister's house, and my sister she pulled her kid out of preschool and left the kid at home. So I had to stay home. And all of a sudden, I was being trafficked as a childcare provider and wasn't being paid, was being forced to stay at home until my sister got home. I wasn't collecting any payment. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I couldn't I couldn't get a job. And so I was essentially trapped there. I wasn't going to leave my niece and abandon her,
yeah.
and I
How
was
long were you
so
at your
young.
sisters?
Six
Yeah.
months, a total of six
So
months.
you were able to get out after
Yes,
6 months. Where
yes.
did you go?
Well, I kind of hopped around a couple of places. At the time, there was a church that I was attending. It wasn't the same branch as my cult, but the same belief, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
But somebody in that group actually helped me. And she let me stay at her place for 2 weeks until she could find another place for me. And then there was a family that was in the church that said they happened to have a room for rent. And so during that time, I got a job and I moved in with these people and I kept a job and they taught me how to drive and they helped me get my first car.
It's
And
almost like you got adopted as an adult.
it felt like that. I mean, they
Yeah.
were very much like, you were an adult, we will give you your space and we're not here to parent you. But at the same time, so they gave me the autonomy and the freedom to be who I was, but they were still providing direction and teaching. And because I was basically thrown into adulthood with
Yeah.
nothing, no training,
Right.
nothing, not enough schooling. So they really did help me a lot. But they were still involved in the same things that my family was involved in. So eventually, it turned into a conflict of interest. But I eventually I did what I could that was in my control. My
Yeah.
my aunt found out that my sister was making sure I couldn't collect any money for myself. And so my aunt, she helped me get car insurance. She helped me, get a bank account. And she helped me do a lot of things that I didn't know how to do by myself. And so
Right.
I did have a handful of people to help me when I was 17, 18. But for the most part, I was on my own. I
Where
didn't have
are
my
your
license to
parents?
fly.
Yeah. Where are your parents now?
My parents, I believe they live in Casa Grande, Arizona,
Okay.
and they go to a church there. I'm sure it's the same old stuff that
You
they
don't talk to them or your sister or anything?
know. The last time, well, I first estranged myself, I want to say in 2015. And I briefly met up with them like during the pandemic to pick
Hmm.
up an old car of mine and that they have had for like years. I think they were trying to lure me back into the abuse. They weren't being nice. I knew
Mm.
I knew kind of what they were doing, but I also kind of wanted my car back. So I went with a friend of mine and we went down there and they drove so that I could drive my car back. And when we walked in there, he knew it was going to be weird because he knew I was estranged from my parents. And he knew me very well. Like we'd known each other for a couple of years already. So he knew me pretty well. He knew what I was about and what I do day to day. And
Mm-hmm.
he knew he'd heard me talk about my parents. He's like, he kind of went because he was kind of curious, like, oh, I got to meet these guys.
Right.
So he comes with me, and we walk in, and I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say too much on here because I don't want to step on the toes of people who have certain beliefs, political beliefs. When you walk in, there's a huge American flag, Jesus pictures, pictures of my brothers, no pictures of me, of course.
Right.
So, there's pictures on Facebook. They don't want anybody to know that, like, they don't have a daughter anymore. But at home, there's nothing of me anywhere. But one thing he noticed when we were all finished, my parents offered to take us to lunch, which we thought, okay. Uh, just all I have to say is that at the end of all of this, and we were getting ready to leave, my friend was like, they actually really don't listen to you, do they? Like, they really don't listen to a word you say at all. He's like, I paid attention to that. They did not respond to or listen to anything that you had to say. They talked over you. They
Mm-hmm.
started speaking before you finished. They didn't acknowledge what you said. It was like I didn't even need to be there. They made a lot of eye contact with him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, oh, you noticed. Yeah, I grew up with that.
So you're like, so now you see I'm not making it up.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. Do
Yeah.
you, a couple questions.
Mhm.
Did you feel at any time, like I know you got yourself out of it, but did you feel a sense of abandonment?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because you
Oh, yeah.
never had like a normal,
I didn't know it was abandonment because I was still around my parents, and
yeah, even though they
I was
were
abandoned as
abandoning
a
you
child.
living
I was
under their
abandoned.
roof.
Yeah, I was abandoned as an infant. My parents left me alone in harmful situations and didn't do anything about it. They didn't try to help me. They didn't advocate for me.
Yeah.
They were afraid of the cult. They were afraid of sticking up for me. They
Did
didn't want
you?
to, receive any kind of backlash. They didn't want anyone knowing we had any problems because we were the example.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you gotten to a point, and we'll talk about some more things with you because there's so many layers.
sure.
Have you gotten to a point where you're at peace with
I no,
everything, or are you still, I'm sure you still have your days because we all do, but
I never thought like I had so much pain. I never thought that I would achieve a place of healing.
hmm.
But I kept doing the work anyway.
Okay.
And the healing snuck up on me while I was busy doing the work. And that
That is so profound that you're saying that. So say that again, because
okay.
I want people to hear that that's struggling and don't see a light at the end of the tunnel.
So you name the trauma, I have the t-shirt. I've experienced it all. I had so much pain, I never thought that I would reach a place of healing.
Yeah.
Did the work anyways, and I kept going, and the healing snuck up on me.
Mm. And before you knew it, you were on the other side.
Yeah, it's like when I talk about it, I get emotional about it when I
Of
revisit it.
course.
I have a very vivid memory. I have aphantasia. I can visually remember everything that I went through. And so
Yeah.
it's really is
Yeah.
like being there for me.
Right.
But when I'm not talking about it and when I'm when I'm going about my day-to-day life, I have a good life. I have a good life with my kids. We love to cook and we love to play games and we love to joke about our day and make fun of all of those little human things. And we like to decorate our house and
Yeah.
we like to make tacos and enchiladas. And um,
Yeah.
my kids, I have these moments where my kids will say I'll say something that's kind of cult related or something, and they will have no idea what I'm talking about. And that makes me feel really good.
Yes. You're like, I broke the mold
Broke the cycle. Yeah,
or the
broke the mold
cycle.
too. Yeah,
And
my
you
kids
got
are not afraid to
four
say,
kiddos, right?
I have 4 kids in
Yeah.
all. 2 of them are still living at my place. They're teenagers and
Yeah.
they're not afraid to say what's on their mind. They're not
Good.
afraid to let me have it.
Good.
Because they know that they know that it's a safe space and that they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't have that freedom. So
Right.
in a lot of ways, my kids shock me, but it makes me feel good. I was like, oh, I'm glad you can like, be comfortable enough to let me know that. That makes me feel really good to know that my kids trust me like that to tell me those things.
Do you talk to me about, I have written down here, simple healing, with, therapy, meditation, and your journal.
Mm.
Like go into a little bit more about that simple healing part of it, because that was really cool when you were talking about that.
Well, as a kid, I liked to write, but then I didn't like to write it down because my mom would go in and read it, and so
Yeah.
then you're trying like what now I have that trauma, so I don't like to write anything down anymore, even though nobody is around to look at my stuff anymore, like other than my kids, they know everything anyway. So,
Hmm.
I have nothing to hide from anybody, but I still have that trauma. And also talking about it, like the act of actually talking about it is very therapeutic. And
Yes.
so if I need to talk about something, I just grab my voice notes and I press record and I talk about it. And I was doing that every day, just getting stuff out. Never went back to it until like years later. I was like, oh, what are all these untitled things? And I started
Oh,
listening to them and I'm like, oh shit. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on here, but I was like, oh man, this is
oh,
me.
cuss
Like,
away.
this is me
You're
going
fine.
through it. Yeah. I was like, this is me going through it. And like, I totally forgot about all this stuff. But I also taught myself things. I was like, wow, I actually said something kind of smart that like helped me years later. And I was like, oh, I figured this out. Or looking back on this, I actually know the answer to that question now,
Yeah.
and it's actually kind of fun listening to old stuff
Yeah,
and
you can reflect back on it. You
yeah.
must you must listen back at some of those recordings and be like, who was that girl?
Yeah, who was that girl? And
Yeah,
who is this? Like, who is this? Like this happy
exactly.
girl, like with the curly hair and like, the bubbly personality whose eyes water every time she gets happy. Like, who is that? Um, you know, I just Healing is something that you think is never going to happen, and you think I mean, I'm still estranged from my parents. It's not like all those memories changed. It's not like the hurt goes away. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm in a safe space where I can be myself. And I'm in a safe space where I can do those things every day to help me feel safe and
Mm-hmm.
help me feel comfortable. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
else is dictating how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in control now.
Yeah,
And it's not that other people don't get me upset or trigger
of
me or anything
course.
like that. But other than the journaling and talk therapy and stuff like that, I started to go to therapy and I started to talk to somebody else. And that person asked all the right questions. They didn't tell me how to think. They didn't tell me what I was doing wrong or what my fault was in the situation. They asked all the right questions. And
Mm-hmm.
that was something that I forgot to do for myself, is ask myself some really hard questions.
So
Um,
you felt very safe with them.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I joined a support group, which helped even more because then I wasn't just talking to a therapist who was just going to listen to me and validate everything I said. I wanted to talk to other people who had experienced what I had
Yeah.
experienced. And so when I went no contact with my parents, I joined a support group and we were all looking for like resources and things. And we couldn't really find many from like the adult child's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really know how to podcast or anything like that, but somebody suggested it and everyone's like, yeah, you should make a podcast. You know how to record, right? You're a singer. You know how to do that. You had studio time, you could do that. I was like, I could, but I'd be scared to death of talking about myself in front of people, because then I had the stage fright. Then I had all of the people looking at me and people staring at me and stuff. And I didn't really feel like I wanted that attention again. And I was like, and now I'm going to speak against my parents about what I'm going through. Like, I don't know if I can do that, be
Yeah.
that vulnerable and open. And I just did not feel safe doing that. So I changed my name, I didn't even have a profile picture up for like a long time because I didn't want anyone to see my face. The pandemic changed all that. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to see who was podcasting. And so we all went to video like we are now. So I ripped that band-aid off and I got over that. So I launched the podcast and I didn't even have like any friends or anything like that. I did
Mm-hmm.
it 100% from scratch because I was too afraid to tell anybody. I
Mm-hmm.
love dogs, by the way. I just have to say hi to your dog.
This is Sunny Bunny.
Hi, Sunny.
And the other one's over there sleeping. He's my old man over there. The it is people don't realize like to be a podcaster, you have to be very vulnerable and it's almost like standing in front of a crowd naked. You know, you have to be so
Is
vulnerable because the listeners are going to feel if you're not being sincere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can over edit things or you can over rehearse or over produce. And yeah,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I was like, I want it to look good. I want it to sound good. But then after a while, it's like you realize, well, I'm just here to talk about the issues, really.
Just be you. Yeah.
Yeah, just that's really what I'm doing it for. I didn't think anyone was going to listen. So I did put a lot of effort in the beginning. I didn't think anybody was going to listen to it. And
I didn't either.
surprise, I had some listeners that I was even estranged from who found my show because they were looking for estranged resources for themselves, which I thought
Yeah.
was funny. My own family found my show looking
Yeah.
for
Well,
resources for
I mean, that's part of it, you know,
that's how they found out that I had a show. So
and
that's
did they reach out or
yeah, my brother. During the pandemic, they found out that I had a podcast. My younger brother was looking for estrangement podcasts. Funny enough, because
interesting?
I had been estranged from the family for years, and he started listening to this podcast called "When the Bow Breaks" by Alexis Errol. What a weird name! And started listening to it, and he's like, "Huh, hold up, I think that's my sister." Yeah,
Wow.
that's my sister. And she's like sharing all the family dirt or whatever. And so he contacted the show. He didn't contact me directly because he was blocked um, for years. But he did contact the show. And then the person who was kind of like helping me kind of get started with my show at the time, he was the one answering the messages.
Mm,
Knew the whole story. So he's like, do you want me to be the go-between? Do you want me to filter things
right.
out? I was like, I think I'm fine. My brother's not really like exactly like my parents or my sister. But basically, yeah, he was really upset. Um, he told my mom about it, but then told her not to listen.
Was
He
he
really didn't want to
younger,
hear it. He's a
younger
few
than
years
you?
younger. He's
Okay.
I want to say almost 4 years younger than me.
So
Um,
was he upset because that
I
you
was talking about it.
just everything in general?
I didn't name any names. I changed my name to, out of respect for my family because I didn't
Yeah.
want them accusing me of using my show for gossip. That's not what my show is
Right.
for.
Yeah,
And yeah, we
that's
can talk about what hurt us, but the whole point of that is to heal. And so I wasn't allowed to talk about my life. I wasn't allowed to talk about the things that happened to me. I wasn't allowed to talk about my aunt's murder. I wasn't allowed to talk about the abuse. I wasn't allowed. I was told I could sing. I'll sing these words. Here's your song. These are the words. Sing this.
yeah.
That's what I was told. And I was always told that I had a voice and that I should use it to serve.
Well, you do now.
Yeah. I, but I'm the one who knows what that means. They thought they knew what that meant, but they really didn't understand that I actually do have a voice. And it's not just to sing. I didn't come
And it's
here. I learned that I didn't come here to please people. I didn't come here to entertain people. I came here to make people think and to make
and
people
you're
talk
doing it on your terms
on my
now.
terms. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where healing comes from. You have to have that autonomy. You can't have anybody telling you how to heal
Mhm.
because all of our pain is unique and all of our experiences are different. We can have a lot of the feelings in common, but we're all unique and our paths, our healing paths might not all look the same. Um,
No, and they're all
and
good. They're all unique. I mean,
yeah,
they're custom to you
right.
know.
I mean, some people don't need therapy. They just want to go off in the woods and breathe. and that's good
Right.
for them, and
Yes.
they're
And that's
fine with that,
if,
that's
yeah.
it. But me, I got to have 13 years of therapy ongoing, to deal with my stuff. And that's okay too. If
Yep.
that's what helps me feel good, like that's good too. Or if journaling is your thing, or if having a support group is your thing, find a way to heal. You can do it and just don't stop. Just keep going. Look for new ways of doing it.
Well, and I was gonna, I just want to back up a little bit because you knew you had a lot of work to do
Yeah.
because, unfortunately you were born into this horrific environment. And you said like through it all, you just kept doing it even though you didn't know if you were ever gonna get better. You just kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. How did you wake up every day and not give up? I'm sure you had moments like you relapsed, or whatever, but
Oh yeah, I had moments where, like I said, you think you're never going to heal.
right.
Those moments are eventually going to be outweighed by something else that's coming, but you have to, keep going. There were times that I didn't want to live anymore because I was like, well, I can't live a happy life now. I
Hmm.
shake every time I'm around this person, or I'm around that
Yeah.
person, or every time I go into a building like this, or every time I see someone wearing a big fat cross around their neck,
Hmm.
um how can
Is
I
that
be happy?
triggering to you
Oh
if when you
yeah.
see
Oh yeah.
that?
All that stuff is still triggering for me. It actually
Yeah.
happened the other day. I was on the bus and someone came on, had a huge cross. I'm not really actually afraid of it, but my body knows what that means. My body
Yeah.
knows what all that means for me. And
Hmm.
so my heart started palpitating.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not actively afraid, the body keeps a
Mhm.
score. That's a book that you can read. The body keeps a score. My body remembers everything that was done to me. And
I'm writing that down.
so I think that I just reached at a point where I was like, I either heal or I die. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like that's it. And I think what really kept me going was not only just my kids, but I think also I had hope for myself,
Hmm.
It was a little bit, but I had hope for myself that maybe I could be happy. Maybe I
Hmm.
could find those people around who weren't going to torment me every day. Maybe those people really do exist. And they
Yeah.
do. I work with them every day. I work in a really great work environment where I can say that I'm friends with a lot of people that I work with.
Hmm.
And that's a good environment for me. I'm safe at work. I know they have my back if anything were to go backwards or haywire.
Do they know your history and about your
Yes.
podcast and everything?
I don't think everyone in the company knows, but at least my department,
Yeah.
they're very aware of, especially like my managers and things like that, just in case one of them were to pop up in the building looking for me or something. They're definitely aware. So I feel very safe at work.
What
Uh,
do you, was there a pivotal moment when you were like, holy crap, I'm like where you said the healing is outweighing the pain?
I started to sleep at night.
Mm.
I know it sounds so simple, but I started to
No,
sleep
that's
at night
incredible.
because I had really bad nightmares all my life, and they were the kind of nightmares where I could feel everything that was going on that was happening to me, and they were very vivid, and it was just very very bad. I have physical problems from years of sleep deprivation, so when I started
Yeah.
sleeping, everything changed.
Oh
My
yeah. If
body
you
got
if you
better.
don't
Like,
sleep, it affects everything in your life.
yeah, if you want to know why someone's psycho, ask them how much sleep they got.
Right.
That will turn anybody crazy. Stop
Right.
like treating your new moms like they can just go for it and never sleep. Like let these moms sleep, like for crying out loud. I
Right.
Yeah. So I started sleeping and resting, and then my body got the rest it needs because there's certain kinds of rest you don't get unless you sleep. Started sleeping, nightmares disappeared. When
Wow.
I stopped talking to my sister, which is funny because I didn't know those nightmares were even connected. Um,
Mm.
so when you separate yourself from toxic people, believe it or not, that can actually heal your body.
Yes.
That can heal your body. And I have never, ever in my life been in a position where I can work physical work for 8 hours a day and still come home and have energy for my kids and energy
Hmm.
for podcasting. Uh, I was not a strong person physically. I had a lot of health issues that were directly related to trauma and stress,
Yeah.
long-term trauma and stress. So it's
Yes.
not just that I shake every time I see a cross. It's like I have tissue damage, I have nerve damage, I have stress and light-induced non-epileptic seizures, uh, all kinds of crazy stuff that happen because of stress, long-term stress. And so you
Yeah.
need to give your body a break. You need to give your body a break from being around those kinds of people and those kinds of situations. So just getting in that space, just a space alone, gave me room to heal.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I was just talking yesterday to somebody about this because part of healing, and I think it's scary to a lot of people because they are afraid of losing people. They are afraid of, what that aftermath is going to look like. Because I mean, to be honest, it's going to happen.
Yeah, sure.
And people just kind of fizzle out of your life, What did you, but you kind of had to do that with your family. Did you
Yeah.
find it, were you like, I just, enough's enough, I have to do this? It had to have been very painful to do that.
Yes. And again, like I don't believe in you get a fight with your parent and if you get into a fight with your parents and you go no contact because you're mad. I don't believe in that kind of thing. I debated my estrangement for over a year while I was in therapy because I didn't know what to do because I knew that they were never going to stop, they were never going to change, and
Right.
I had to decide how much I was going to put up with. And
Mhm.
they couldn't respect boundaries. They couldn't listen to me. Remember, they couldn't hear anything I had to say. I had
Yeah.
a friend
It
who
went through one ear and out the other.
Yep. So it wasn't possible for me to even have any kind of healthy relationship with my family at all. There was no communication. They would talk over me, they wouldn't listen to me, and they had hurt my kids on top of that. Whole other story,
Hmm.
but they were not nice to my kids. And that was really the pivotal moment when I said, enough is enough. You're not listening to me, and now it's hurting my kids. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Mama Bear comes out then at that point, and
Yep.
you're
I don't
like,
want to see Mama Bear.
so
She's
maybe in a way, like your kids saved you
They did. They really did because
because
I loved my kids, and I can say this now
you
is
love
that
them more.
I mean, you always say you love your kids more than you love yourself, but it was the space between that was very, very big. I did
Yeah.
not care for myself or value myself. I was still in that when I separated from myself from my parents, I was still in that place of servitude. Even though I'd left the cult pretty much at the same time, I was still I didn't know who I was. I was
Hmm.
struggling with that identity issue about who I was and what I wanted to do. And I serving others and people pleasing others till the point where I was unhealthy was a habit for me. And I had to then, okay, yeah, I had a lousy childhood. I had some things that happened to me that were pretty fucked up, but now it's my responsibility to fix those things. I can't,
Yeah.
my parents can't fix it.
You need to own it now.
Yeah, I have to own it. This is me. I have to take responsibility. So
And look at the example you're giving your kids
yeah.
because this is a great lesson for them because not everybody, even the best parents in the world, can't help you through certain things in life.
Yeah.
Not everybody has all the answers.
Mhm.
Your parents were a completely different
Yeah.
situation, but that's
Right.
why I said even the best of parents in the world. But like you have to sometimes just pull yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard now? Like, how are you? Because I know how I feel about this, but how do you feel now welcoming new people into your life and all that? Because I've got my own journey with that, but what has yours been like?
Well, when you're a kid, it's easy. You find something
Well, when you're, yeah,
you like and you go for it. But when you're an adult, it's harder. When you're a single mom, it's even harder. When you're in your 40s, it's even harder. So
yeah,
so I can't say that there's been a lot of people that are lining up to, be a part of my life. But when somebody does, want to be a part of my life, I I had this issue. It's like I can't trust people. I kept trusting people and I kept getting hurt
mhm,
again. And what's my problem? I can't trust people. I've learned that. I have to learn to trust myself.
yeah,
So my relationships are doing better, not because I put my trust in this other person, hoping that they're going to treat me right, because I can't control what they do.
right.
I'm not in control of what they do. Uh,
Hmm.
I might be their inspiration for things and motivation for things, but I'm not in control of what they do. So I had to learn to trust myself, to learn when situations were not good.
And listen to your body.
Yeah, listen to my body, which took years of practice because for years I was taught to deny my body and to deny my feelings.
Hmm.
And so I had to rediscover my own feelings and label them and then figure out why I was feeling that way and set boundaries so I don't have to feel that way. You have to get to know yourself before you can set effective boundaries.
Okay, say it again, because I
You
want
have to get to know
everybody to hear
yourself.
this.
You have to get to know yourself if you want to have effective boundaries. How are you going to know how to set boundaries if you don't know what you like, if you don't know what's pissing you off? You got to figure it out, man. And that's why spending time by yourself is very important.
Hmm.
Isolation is different. That's different. Isolation means I don't want to talk to anybody, help out. And then you
Right.
just kind of melt into yourself and into depression and things like that. That can be unhealthy. But I needed that time by myself. I needed time away from the community that I grew up in, from anybody else that was influencing me negatively. And I put myself in new environments around new people, and I gave myself a second chance to be happy in new relationships and to take time in exploring them. I don't, I no longer feel like I have to attach myself securely to the first person who gives me attention,
Hmm.
because I didn't get a lot of positive attention except for
Right.
when I was performing for other people. So, a lot of work has come into me being comfortable in my own skin and comfortable
Yeah.
talking about all this, but it's been good. It's
Yeah.
been good. It's been a long journey, but getting to know myself, I have to say, when I was looking to heal, I was just looking for the pain to stop. I didn't know that I was going to discover like this beautiful person.
Right. I
There's
know.
a really cool person inside of yourself if you take the time to get to know them.
And you weren't allowed to be that
Yeah, I
person.
wasn't allowed to be that. And so I didn't know who I was to other people. I didn't know how other people saw me or who I was to them. Um, and so I think that just in these last 13 years of me being in therapy and me separating myself from my
Hmm.
family and leaving that toxic cult environment, whew, I've got lots of stories. But
Sure.
giving myself space to heal like safely and to get to know myself and to go back to I mean, I guess when there's one bad event in your life, you have a reference to go back to who you were before that. I didn't
Hmm.
have that.
Yeah, because
I
you
was
didn't know any different. They
Yeah,
started you at 2 years old,
right.
performing
Performing
for.
and um reciting long speeches,
Mhm.
scripture and verses and paragraphs, and uh, that was who I was. I was actually given to my church as a living sacrifice. That is why I
Yeah.
was born. Um, was for other people. I was born to be used. And so I had to figure out a way how to flip that. And I had to say, no, I'm not, I wasn't born to be used. Well, what was I born to do? So I had to take time to figure that out. And
I hope you wake up every day and look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself what an amazing super, like you said, badass you are that
Well,
you
first
did
thing I
this.
noticed my hair is all crazy and I got to do something about that. But then after that,
Oh, you look
I wake up
adorable.
and I rub
No.
my eyes and yeah, it's going to be a
Yeah.
good day.
Yeah. I mean, where are you now with, because I know we're coming up on our time, but where are you now with church in general, your faith and singing?
Well, it's funny because I was kind of like journaling about this last night.
Okay.
Well, after I left the cult, I did a lot of studying, and I studied all those religions that they don't let you study any other
Yeah, of course, because
religion,
it's not theirs.
right?
Right.
Um, and but I studied anyway because I was that
Yeah.
rebellious child,
Yeah.
and studied other cults and things like that, and just kind of realized I was in one. And I also just decided that I personally don't believe that there's a God, and I don't believe that there's an afterlife called heaven. I don't believe that anybody really specifically knows what's going to happen, and I'm not going to waste my energy wrestling about it and fighting about it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm content to know that when I'm gone, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, "Oh, well, your life must lack value if you're you don't have an eternal future." I was like, no, actually it makes my life much more precious.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I think being an atheist, I it's allowed me to value my life more, and it gives my kids permission to value their lives. And I think that that is important because if you're not healthy, you're just, I don't know, I want people to be healthy and happy. You shouldn't have to feel bad and always like you're on the cusp of something bad happening to you, or you're worried that some god is going to strike you down, or you're worried that your church isn't going to be happy with you. Those people don't really care about you. They really don't. Nobody's going to care about you like you care about.
Yeah. And I think, that's the thing. Like you said, you're now an atheist. You've done a
Yeah,
lot of research and you've educated yourself, and you
yeah,
have the right to believe in whatever the hell you want to believe. That is
right,
your given right. And just because I was raised Christian, like I went to Catholic school my whole life, I'm not really, I'm a Christian now, I would say. Just because you're not, you have the right to be, and this is like exactly, we can all get along and respect other people's wishes and other
yeah.
people's beliefs.
It's
And
not hard.
it's really not like,
People
don't,
like
why
that.
do you take it personal? Like that's what I believe in. You're not going to take that personal. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I think that
Yeah.
we can all like teach each other stuff, things that we learn. And are you singing still?
I sang for the same reasons I sang when I was a little girl on my swing set.
For fun.
Yeah.
Good. So you're not on American Idol this season?
Oh, and it's so funny you bring that up because I remember when that show was on, everyone's like, you should go. And I was like, I think it's a glorified karaoke contest. I don't want to go. I don't want to win. I don't want that kind of attention. And that I think that actually was starting to raise some questions for me. Well, why don't I want to do it? I totally could win. Blah, blah, blah. Like everybody says,
Yeah.
look, why don't I
Or
just
go on The Voice or
I
something.
didn't want those eyes on me. I didn't want people looking at me, and I didn't want to lock myself into another world where I was, made to serve
Hmm.
people and entertain other people. And I didn't want that kind of life for myself.
Because that was your whole life
That
growing up.
wasn't my whole
That's
life.
all
I
you
never
knew.
experienced it. I went to modeling school when I was 11. I graduated. Like I did all kinds of weird stuff, like, but I'm happy listening to music in my room.
Yeah.
And I'm happy cooking and baking and laughing and
Yeah.
being with my kids. I don't have a lot of craving to do anything else other than my podcast and
Yeah.
other than continue to heal and create a happy life for myself.
So tell everybody to find When the Bell Breaks.
Well, you can find it
Because
on
yours
pretty much
officially did.
You can find us on pretty much any podcast platform, but if you want to go to our website, it's wtbbpod.com. Stands for When the Bow Breaks Podcast. You can email us if you'd like to be a guest. You can email the show at wtbbpodcast@gmail.com. And I think we're on Facebook and Instagram. We're not on a lot of other social media sites because I don't
Yeah,
really like social media.
I know. It's
But,
a double-edged sword, you
I
know.
got a couple of things open though for you. So it's not really hard to find the show, really, because we're only in a couple places.
What kind of guests are you looking for?
I like to have guests on the show that are basically anybody and everybody. I like
Okay.
guests to share their stories and to share what resources help them, because that's pretty much the whole reason why I started the show.
You and me both, sister.
Stories. Yeah, to share stories and to share
Yeah.
resources because there weren't any when I started. And I was like, well, maybe if I had a podcast and people came on and told me what they were doing, what they were reading and
Oh,
what
I
they
know. Me
that is
too.
exactly why I started the show. So if you have a resource to share, then you're the perfect guest. I mean, if you got a story to share, that's good. I want to know what you learned from that. And I want to know, I want to know the juicy stuff too, because, hey, this is a podcast. Some of it's fun, so
Right, 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 right,
why
right,
have all
right.
this stuff to talk about and not enjoy any of it,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
laugh about it and make fun of it sometimes even. And,
Yeah.
and that's okay. So yeah, it's real kickback. But you don't have to be a super popular person to be a guest on the show. All that qualifies you to be on the show is if you're not speaking to somebody in your family. That's all that the qualifications that you need. And
Which is pretty much everybody.
I got a buzz in my mouth.
Oh, my gosh. Well, this has been yours. I love your story. I think there's going to be a lot of people listening who are struggling with that. And I love how you talked about you just did it anyway, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. And then all of a sudden you literally woke up from finally being able to sleep, realizing that that is now outweighing the pain that you've been in for all these years. So I think I just want people to hear that because just don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. And sometimes, you're going to be the only person that's there to advocate for yourself. And those can be scary moments, but those are the moments that you love yourself,
Yeah.
that you're there for yourself. And when you're there for yourself that way, when you push yourself to heal and when you push yourself to get up and go to therapy even if you don't want to, or when you're talking about something that makes you feel bad but you still need to talk about it because somehow it still makes you feel better,
Hmm.
keep going, do it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, there really is.
Hmm.
But it's going to kind of sneak up on you, it's going to be gradual, you won't,
Yeah. But
that's
just
how
put
about
in the
you.
work. Just do the work. It's
Yeah,
worth it. You're
yeah.
worth it. Well, you are a musician, but you are officially a trauma rock star now.
Awesome.
You are part
Add
of the
that
fam.
t-shirt to my collection.
Yes, you're part of the fam. So I'm so honored to have you on and thank you for all your amazing insight and your strength. And I know that we just tip of the iceberg of what you went through, but people can imagine like what you must have gone through from the young age of 2 until you were 17 to get
Yeah,
out of
and if
this
anybody wants
situation.
to learn more, they can check out my YouTube channel because I have a lot of other guest spots where I go more into depth about the culture,
Yeah.
more into depth about the abuse at home, and all of those things, and why I chose housekeeping as a career. And it's also trauma related. So there's some good stuff on there. And you can just look it up, Alexis Errol, on YouTube.
And I will have all your contact information available too in the episode. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Let me just stop the recording.